Hi everyone, Nick here, and today we're looking back at another F1 2020 league race. This time we're looking back at round 5 of season 4 of the Serious Racing League at Le Castellet, also known as Circuit Paul Ricard, home of the French Grand Prix. And I think this track gets a bit of a rough ride because of how the real life races are so, well, I mean, let's just call it it's terrible. They've been really bad since it came back onto the calendar, and yeah, it gets a bit of a bad reputation from that. I think it's quite a fun track to drive on, a challenging track. It's got some very interesting corners. The first sector and the last sector are very twisty, some very interesting corners with some sort of tricky lines to try and thread your way through it to try and be as quick as possible. But of course, this is also slightly biased, my opinion of here, because it's one of my more successful tracks on the game, and I've already won twice in Season 1 and Season 2 on F1 2020 in the Serious Racing League, so I was hoping to bag a hat-trick here. It wasn't going to be easy. Tony's pace is, as always, very good round here, but I definitely felt like I had a chance. So into qualifying then, and my first run was actually pretty decent. As I'd been going around the lap, I got a purple first sector, a purple second sector, and third sector was pretty decent. I was trying to see if I could put in a marker, try and actually be in first place after the first round of laps, just to give me that little boost. But unfortunately, Tony was able to pit me by less than half a tenth, and I did a 128.211. I didn't have an easy time in the session because for some reason I got kicked out of PSN, which lost me a bit of time. Fortunately, it was okay. I got back into the session just in time to be able to set my second lap, and this is that lap, which ended up being my best of the session. So, nice and early exit around the last corner so you can get on the throttle as early as possible. First couple of corners I find quite tricky. Brake almost as the curb on the right hand side appears. Sweep in, cut as much of turn 1 as you can. Turn 2 is weird because it's really sort of slippery, but you have to just be careful on exit as well. Now here you want to kind of throw it into each of these corners, but you want to make sure that you compromise and allow some time to actually do the next corner. You can lose time by attacking too much. Here you want to get on the throttle as early as possible, because if you get on the throttle nice and early without getting too early, again compromise, you can launch it down this straight and gain so much time. And you want to pick the braking points just after 100 metres, turn it in there, cut as much as you can, cut as much as you can there, and cut as much as you can there. That's about as good as I'm going to do that chicane really. And we cross the line for end of sector 2, and that's 2 purple sectors, so this is a good lap. That corner is easy flat. This one is a weird one. You kind of throw it in and then just sort of let it slow down because of the gears, then tap the brakes a bit and then get it turned and then nail it. Again, kind of the same here, but left, but a bit more braking involved. And then we've got 2 corners to go. This one you want to lob it in after the blue bit on the right hand side starts. Try and stick as tight to the curb on the left hand side. We haven't really done that, and it means we're a bit tighter on that right hand corner than we want to, and get as early and straight on the power as you can. Stick down the left hand side, and we cross the line to do a 128.029, which at the time was provisional pole, but I didn't think it was going to be enough, so I had to go for another lap. This is my third lap. Unfortunately, as has happened before, someone has taken out one of the brake markers on the left hand side, and I'm not really sure where to brake, and as a result I mess up the braking there, which, you know, I was still in provisional pole at that point, but it left the door open for Tony, and he doesn't really need more than one invitation, does he? So he pops in with a 127.952, which meant that he took pole by 77 thousandths of a second. And that was slightly disappointing. I would have quite liked to have got my first pole of the season, but it's a long race. Tyre management is a big thing here, so being first or second, not the end of the world. So into the race then, starting on softs. Plan is for a one stopper, go softs then mediums, so we're going to have to be careful with tyre management. We get an okay start. Tony is ahead of us. We're a little bit deep into turn 1, which compromises us into turn 2. However, there's an almighty shambles behind us. Someone spins and doesn't ghost. People crash into him, and unsurprisingly, there is a virtual safety car. I'll let it off. I think a multiple car pile up. I think that's worth a virtual safety car at least. Real life, probably a full safety car, but never know. So the plan here is to try and, well, first of all, do not get a penalty. That would be very silly. But what we want to make sure we do is we don't get too far behind Tony and don't give Blarg behind us any kind of chance to try and get a run on us. The deltas is going to end here. The virtual safety car is coming in a nice place. Straights are probably better places. So at this point, we're already flooring it. We've got rich fuel. We've got EOS overtake on there. So we're just going to nail it. Blarg isn't going to get a run up. You have to be really close to get up the inside of this corner. And at this point, we're okay. We haven't lost anything. We haven't gained anything. But as I said before, this is a long race. If you're going to try and do a one-stop strategy like I am here, you have to manage your tyres, and it's not all about doing a really good first lap or a really good second lap. It's about doing 27 good laps. And at the end of lap 1, we've kept a gap to the car in front under a second, which of course will become much more important as the race goes on, and we've managed to stay ahead of Blarg behind. And at the end of lap 2, you can see we've done exactly the same thing. And this is when DRS is going to be enabled. We even do a fastest lap of the race at that point. Obviously early days, only lap 2, but it shows that the pace is decent. And then this obviously helps us out later around the lap, because when we get to the DRS zone on the back straight, we are less than a second behind Tony, and we can use rich fuel. We're not even using overtake at this point. We use a little burst of it onto the straight, but just using that DRS to be pulled along down the straight and just get nice and close to him and just get some basically free time. So you can go rich fuel, EOS is now turned off, and look, we're closing in. Maybe we could have used even more EOS to try and absolutely nail him, but there's no point at this time, because at this point in time I'm thinking I'm doing the one stop, and I'm not sure that Tony or Blarg are going to be doing it. They have previously tried it and it's not gone well for them, so I'm expecting 2 stops from a pair of them. And you can see here at the end of lap 6, Blarg had dropped a couple of seconds behind us and has decided he's had enough of those soft tyres that he started on and has come into the pits. So at the moment, things are working well. And at this point, I fully expected Tony to go in to the pits to cover Blarg off to make sure he couldn't undercut him. But he didn't. And then at the end of lap 8, he didn't pit either. And I was starting to get a bit suspicious at this point, because surely if you're going to do a 2-stop, you have pit by now. So it became apparent that Tony was trying to go for the one-stopper. And as we appeared to be teammates, if we pitted on the same lap, we could get stacked. So let's not bother with any of this sitting behind him malarkey. Let's get up the inside, down the Mistral straight, use the DRS and the EOS, and we get the overtake done. And that's quite satisfying, because I basically just said, okay, I'd like to overtake now, and just did it. So I think that shows that my pace around here is quite good. Obviously had better tyres at that point as well than Tony, because my tyre wear is just generally quite good, and quite good at the old tyre management. And at this point we're just trying to make sure we stay ahead, because we've decided we're going to pit at the end of this lap. I wanted to get onto my medium tyres to take me to the end. And I did kind of have an inkling that Tony was going to do the exact same thing. And if he was indeed my teammate, it's kind of difficult to tell when using the multiplayer car. You kind of have to guess, which is a bit rubbish, but never mind. And he has pitted behind us. So if he is my teammate, this is going to really help me out, because he's going to get stacked behind me, and I'm just going to get a free 5 seconds or something like that on him. And that could really, really help out later in the race. So we go into our pit box, we look back, and there is Tony's car waiting. However, you may have noticed something has gone slightly wrong here in that my soft to medium one-stop strategy isn't really going to work if I've got soft tyres on after my first pit stop. It seems that even though I selected this on the strategy screen at the start, it didn't actually select it. I think I probably picked the wrong strategy option. Oops. As we blast past Chugsy on the back straight, after he pretty much let us go, which was fair enough, on lap 11, we were completely unaware that we'd done this, and I didn't realise I was on the wrong tyres. I was managing my tyres, cruising along, and then thinking, wow, my pace is really good. And we just cruised past Blarg there as well. So we're doing really well. We're up into third place, but we haven't done the strategy right, and it's all going to go a bit wrong. At the end of lap 12, we do gain another place. We go up to second because Rye has pitted for his pit stop, and then later on in that lap, the penny finally dropped.
I'm not going to lie, until this point, Nick, I have not realised that you've gone for 2 stops.
Oh, Monty got held by...
I didn't know I had either.
I'm just on soft tyres and thought, oh, that's interesting.
What? Why is it done? That's not what I said. I literally said. Oh, fuck me.
Mistake.
I said that before the race. So yeah, this was going to be very interesting, as it meant that I had to come in for another pit stop. I was going to have to come in for mediums and somehow manage to gain enough time to not let that ruin my race. At this point we had a gap of about 10 seconds back to Tony, but we were going to need a lot more than that if we were going to be able to pit for new tyres and then get back out again into the lead. So we took the lead at the end of lap 13 when Hom pitted for his pit stop, and at this point we just basically nailed it as hard as we could. We wanted to use up those softs and see how we could do. The problem was always going to be, though, if I was nailing it too much, I couldn't do it without proper control. We don't want to get any warnings. That was warning number 1. 1 more is okay. A third, that could be crucial. So, lap 18, we're blasting down the straight, and the pit prediction box thing in the bottom right hand corner reckons we will come out in third, and that is exactly what I'm looking for. I want to come out after my pit stop ahead of Miles and Hom, who are both on hard tyres. I'm going to lose places to Blarg and Tony. That's fine. We know that's going to be the case. We're going to have to get after them in the second half of a race. But we cannot afford to be stuck behind a couple of cars who are battling on hard tyres. That could absolutely ruin things for us. So we're down into third place, and as we're just about to exit the pit lane, you can see the dots in the bottom left hand corner. We're coming out of the pits. We can see that they're there, and the cars, the arrows, we hang it out round the outside of turn 1 and somehow managed to get out ahead, and that was absolutely crucial. And I knew that the cars behind were not going to just say, okay, cool, bye Nick, laters. I was going to have to really make sure I was on my toes while the tyres got up to proper temperature, and just make sure I don't get mugged off down this straight. So you can see we've got rich fuel, we've got overtake on, and making sure. I'm not entirely sure how far Miles was behind. There's some weird glitching going on. He was not 5 seconds behind. He was less than a second, I think. But we've managed to get to the chicane in one piece. We haven't got any damage. We're ahead. And now it's time to close the gap to the cars in front. And it was about 10 seconds at that point. As we ended lap 19, it was a little bit less than that, just into the 8 seconds. But we were going to need to get a move on. We didn't have that many laps left. And obviously their tyres were going to go off. Blarg's tyres went off enough for him to have to pit again. And we were able to put in a nice fastest lap there as well at that point. So we were closing in, but we were having to push to make sure we did it. And here we took a really rubbish line through there, and to make sure we didn't take too sharp a corner, we ran wide and unsurprisingly got our second warning. So, we're really on the limit here. We're having to push really hard to try and get this gap down in front. But also, at this point, we cannot afford another warning, because I reckon at this point we're taking about a second or so out of Tony on each lap, and it's going to be tight. Not if we've got another 3 seconds to get ahead of him. If we've got a penalty, that's just not going to work. So you can see we're just chipping away at Tony's lead. It's about a second and a couple of tenths each lap, and in theory his tyres will at some point hit the cliff. We can't rely on that. What happens if his tyres are fine? What happens if he manages to eke them out? We need to get up there, and you can see start of lap 25, it's 2.7 seconds. But during lap 25, something that really helped, I think, was that I could now properly see Tony ahead. I felt so much closer. I don't think, maybe at this point I'm starting to get a little bit of a toe, maybe down the straights. It's not going to hurt, but at this point we were getting close. DP came out of the pits, fortunately for us, drove straight on and then promptly into a wall and retired. Classic DP there, but that really helped out with the battle up front by him not getting involved. And at this point we're now thinking, okay, I think we're going to probably get past Tony. But we need to be really careful. How easy would it be to get a little bit of dirty air and drift wide, to make a mistake and take too much of an apex? And of course we need to get past him. We don't want to crash into him, get some damage. That would be really easy and really silly to do. We're not close enough down into the chicane on the Mistral straight, but you can see there he is struggling with his tyres. We've got rich fuel, we've got overtake on, which is getting us a really good toe. We think about a move up into the fast right-hander, but then think better of it. We're going to probably have better chances. And at the time I was thinking, that's the smart thing to do, but I'm not confident that it's going to be the right thing to do, because I was only going to get a couple more tries. And what happens if I just make a mess of it? So we're going to have one lap at the end to try and get the win done. So as you can see here, we're closing in on Tony through the last couple of corners. We turn through the last turn and we get a good exit. We've got DRS, fuel onto Rich, ERS onto overtake. He goes defensive. We're going to go round the outside into the first corner and we get the job done. We don't really get the apex of turn 1. It means we're really tight into turn 2, but we get the job done. And at that point, I could have waited till the back straight, but I think it was really important to just get it done, and then I can try and defend if I need to. And in the end, I think it was important for other reasons, because Tony got a puncture at that point, which meant that unfortunately for him, he wasn't going to really be able to fight back. And after that, it meant that we actually won by quite some distance, but it didn't feel like that. It felt like a really, really close battle, but I was really, really chuffed with that, because I think it would have been so easy to just completely lose it when I messed the strategy up. But I managed to end up winning by 9.3 seconds, which is, you know, to be fair, probably one of my biggest wins actually. But I think it was the mindset that really won it for me, I think. And that's not something I'd normally say, but I was really, really pleased with the way that I thought, do you know what, sod it, let's just absolutely nail this second half of this race. And I did. And yeah, it'd be nice if I did that all of the time, but you know, that would make it too easy. So that's our second win of the season. We're now 17 points behind Tony in second place. And yeah, at that point, I'm thinking, yeah, could it be a title battle? We'll give it as good a shot as we can, and stranger things have happened after all. So what have we learnt from the French Grand Prix? I think one thing I learnt from it was that strategy isn't always everything. I was going into this thinking, oh, we're gonna do that soft medium strategy, we're gonna nail it, and that is what's gonna win it for us. In the end, the accidental 2-stop was the best strategy, because that's what won it. And yeah, it's just, I think sometimes you can get hung up about whether one strategy is much more effective than another one, whether one stop is really powerful. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But sometimes it's just about how well we drive. And if you drive really well, don't worry about the strategy. You'll get a good result. So that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know below in the comments what you thought of it. It really helps me out, really helps the channel out, and it is humongously appreciated, so thank you very much in advance. If you want to catch up with me over on social media type places, then you can hit me up on Twitter or Instagram, where I am Alpha Bulbasaur. You can hang out between videos over on Discord, and if you want to watch these league races live as they happen every Sunday and most Wednesdays, then pop over to Twitch, where I'm also Alpha Bulbasaur on there, and yeah, you can see these races unfold before your very eyes. All of the details of all of those things are in the description below. But until next time and the next video, goodbye.